Well, hello everyone, and happy New Year to you all. I'm going to start the meeting now because we've just passed 2 o'clock. Can I have apologies for absence, please?
We've received apologies from Councillor Jordan, Councillor Murphy and Councillor Hayward.
Thank you. Public open forum is the next item on the agenda. I don't think we've got any members of the public present, so I'll move on. Declarations of interest we'll take during the meeting as appropriate. You can declare now if you like, Councillor. Okay. Thank you. So on to the minutes of... Okay, and Councillor Strong. I'll move on then to the minutes of the meeting of 4th of December. Does anybody have any points they wish to raise about the accuracy of these minutes? Yes.
As Chairman, thank you. It's on page, or at least on my copy, it's on page 6 of the minutes. It's item 6 and just about the last item. You see the last of the bullet points there, detail was requested concerning costs of the review, etc. That wasn't exactly my point. I'm assuming that that's the issue that I raised. What I said was this: I understand why we need to have auditors looking at our financial statements and our grant claims and so on, although to anyone who thinks the audit has a value, I simply say one word, that is in Tesco's. But anyway, never mind. What I said I didn't understand was why the Wales Audit Office was expanding its remit and looking at something like whistleblowing. And indeed, since then, I've had, I assume in common with all other members, questionnaires from the Wales office about leisure services, about adult services and about management. Now, given the time in which we are living, that is to say, when we're having to watch every penny we spend, and every pound that we spent on audit and regulation is a pound less to spend on services that people actually want and value, I was wondering why it was that the Audit Office had taken this sort of process. It has to be paid for. It has to be paid for by us. I was just wondering, and I think, as I understood it, we were going to make further inquiries as to why this expansive role was happening.
Thank you, Councillor. We'll take that as a comment on the minutes as to what you actually want, the point you wanted to make in the meeting, which I think what you've said is the way I recall it. I was going to raise that on an action point because I was going to ask what we were going to do about this request for the costs of the whistleblowing review and the statement of how it was initiated. I don't know if anything has happened since the last meeting or whether there's anyone here from Welsh Audit who can say whether that was taken away. Don't know if you've got anything, Steve.
I can make a comment, Chair, but I wasn't at the last Audit Committee, as you probably know, so I wasn't actually present. I believe Non Jenkins, no, she wasn't actually. Was she?
I don't think she was. She was actually. Here.
So it's my first sight actually of this, and this is an issue. The whistleblowing work is something our performance auditors actually undertake, and not the financial audit side of the audit arrangement. So I can take this away. So apologies, we haven't got an answer for you today, but I can certainly take this away. But if I can sort of preempt really some of the things and the performance team will say in regard to your concerns there, Councillor. It's not just, as you well understand, the Wales Audit Office isn't just about the financial aspects, it's about the performance aspects as well. And one of the things which is shortly about to be undertaken is a corporate assessment of the council, and that's going to be undertaken later this year. I think March is the expected date of that. So the whistleblowing work would inform that corporate assessment, which is undertaken at every council on a periodic basis, as will the issue of the questionnaires. My understanding is those questionnaires have been issued to inform that assessment. I probably, I've been a financial auditor. I don't know the precise detail of that questionnaire. I haven't seen it, but I know they have been issued. I know that much. So I hope that helps to some degree. I don't think it answers all your concerns, but not by a long way probably. But I will take this away and speak to Non and the engagement lead, which is Anne-Marie, who's got responsibility for both performance and financial audit.
Is that okay with you, Councillor?
No, but I guess it's as far as we're going to get.
Okay, thank you very much. So can we agree that apart from the comments made, the minutes are an accurate record? Yes, first, second. Yeah, thank you very much. Just one or two other things I noticed in the minutes. You probably know by now my enthusiasm for action points. One was that I think if we were to look on page 7 of the minutes, we'll see that further information was requested regarding vacant posts and how full-time equivalents can be related to the budget. This is from the MCC-WAO Joint Progress document. I don't remember personally exactly what the issue was, but I wondered whether we'd taken that away to be answered. It might have been more a matter for internal audit.
Yes, I'm sorry, Chair. Which bullet point was that?
Okay, if you look on page 7 of the minutes, it's the second. It's the second point. It's the second paragraph, if you like. It's the first complete bullet point.
I think we were going, sorry, Chairman, I think we were going to invite Peter Davies to come back as head of the HR function now to come and talk to us about the progress that's been made with making sure the HR system is up to date with post detail, etc. And he'll be able to give you that information. I can have a chat to him about whether you want that in written form or whether you want him to come back to the committee.
I think the committee would be really satisfied with just a piece of information supplied to councillors about what's going to be done about improving that aspect of the recording system. Thank you. Yes, there are 2 page numbers. It was page 7 and page 11, depending on which one you're looking at. Also on page 7, if you look down a couple of points further down, clarification requested regarding the identified apportionment of electricity charges for Abergavenny Leisure Centre that was based on out-of-date methodology. Again, the clarification was requested. I don't know if any further information has been provided. I think that is a matter for MCC.
I'd have to come back to you on that one. I think the correction has been made and we would look at it in closing our accounts for this current financial year in terms of making sure it's accurate going forward.
Thank you, Mrs. Robson. Oh, and one final, a point from the mid-year Treasury report. It was still on page 7. Right at the end there, we've got a member suggesting whether there was a possibility of money to be invested through small secured short-term loans to local businesses. And the Assistant Head of Finance noted the point and advised that the matter would be investigated further. Again, I think we would like to have a statement on that if possible. Would you just accept that as a request?
Yeah, I was just going to check whether anything had come back. No, okay, yeah, I'll take that one away.
Thank you. The only other thing that I'm aware of being outstanding is that we've still got a request to Mr. Cope for a report on the procurement of coaches and procurement of vehicles. He's now saying that he's currently being audited and has requested that we take this up at a later meeting, so he's asked to to come to the March meeting.
Chairman, but could we make sure that's re-agended so at least it doesn't slip away from our memories?
This is really one of the reasons why I am an enthusiast for the action list, because I rather feel you can tick them off as each one is dealt with. So I will be asking the Secretary to make sure we have an action list for the next committee meeting. Yes?
Chairman, I can confirm that there is an internal audit of the passenger transport unit, which is currently coming to a conclusion. So certainly by the time of the next meeting, we should be able to take that forward.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'm going to go on to the agenda, the main business of the agenda. Now, I'm going to take 5 and 7.1 together, because 5 is the audited Welsh Church Fund Trust accounts, and 7.1 is the ISA 260 report. Clearly, the two probably need to be taken together. We have a full paper 5. On the Welsh Church Act Fund. Is there someone here who'd like to speak to the paper? Just basically summarise it. Let us know what's happening.
Well, Chairman, I wasn't intending to do that. I mean, the accounts that you've got before you today for the Welsh Church Fund and for the Monmouth Farmers School Endowment Fund, you will have seen those before in draft. The reason they're here for you today is because they've now been audited, so this is the audit version. The opportunity today really is about Wales Audit Office giving you their opinion on those accounts and presenting their ISA 260. These accounts reflect adjustments we've made through the audit process. Hopefully their view, you can see it in tandem then. I wasn't necessarily going to present the accounts again because you've already had that at a previous meeting.
Thank you for that. Well, what I'm going to do then is I'm going to ask the Audit Office if they'd like to make whatever contribution they would like to make about the accounts. But then I will throw it open to councillors for any comments you may have on the body of the material. So, do you have anything for us?
Yes, I do, Chair. Included in the pack, if I may, I'd like to take both of the reports and both sets of the reports on the charities together, because there's common issues and messages cut in across both the charities and common to both the reports, rather than just replicate the things I need to say.
That's fine, but I probably do need to just clarify for committee members what we will be doing then. I presume then that the other report on the School Endowment Trust Fund is similarly we've seen in draft before. So you're going to now comment on those, on your responses to those two from the point of view of audit. So I'd just like members to be aware that at some stage I will be asking if they have any comments on these papers altogether.
Okay, thank you, Chair. Well, Joy is very, very correct in what she says. The draft accounts have been to the Audit Committee previously, and what we have here is the audited final accounts together with our reports, which sort of conclude and report the most significant issues arising from the audit of both of those charity accounts to yourselves, and as to help inform your decision as to whether to approve the accounts. And subject to your approval, Anne-Marie Harkin, as the engagement lead, will then proceed to sign them off, basically, so they can, ready for the council to then submit them to the Charity Commission. So both reports, as I say, which we have here in your packs, very similar format, and a very similar format also to what's been submitted to you in previous years. And the key points to raise, really, we have completed our audits, and we completed them prior to Christmas as well, just for the record. They both completed unqualified opinions on each, which is obviously good news from your point of view. In terms of our main findings, which you need to be aware of to inform your decision as to whether to approve these accounts, there's only one key issue I probably need to report to you verbally, and that's in regard to the farm school, and that's the uncertainty, and you'll be aware of this from previous years as well, the uncertainty we have over the income distribution from the Roger Edwards Trust. There's a value of £35,000 in the accounts. That is, in some respects, is a draft figure, so therefore we're just reporting our uncertainty over the accuracy over that figure for your attention. As I say, this is quite common to what we've reported over the last couple of years or so, since the Roger Edwards Trust was taken over by new trustees. And I understand that's still the situation. I don't think there is certainty yet over that value, as indeed was the case prior to Christmas. I do not intend to take you through the reports in any detail. I think that's the only significant aspect I feel like I need to sort of communicate to yourselves today. The audits went well. There's unqualified opinions on them, and officers who prepared the accounts were very helpful to us in terms of undertaking the audit, and not really much else more to say on these. But if there are any questions on the reports, which you've already seen, obviously be very happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. Okay, I'll throw it open then to councillors. Councillor Strong.
I'm the trustee with Roger Edwards, so I can confirm that actually the figure was 36,000.
Okay.
A couple of things I'm a little bit uncertain about. On the actual Monetary Fund Council report, it does say that the income from Roger Edwards was 56,000. That's on page 2 of the MCC. Is that something carried forward?
Yeah, it was. As you're aware, at the end of the year, I haven't received the cheque from Roger Edwards Trust, so I make an accrual. It was the accrual that I made for the previous year was less than was actually received, so I hadn't received notification from Roger Edwards. Same as this year. I'm glad it's 36. I hadn't seen anything yet, so I'm glad it's this. Yeah. Lovely. Thank you. I haven't had it yet. Thank you.
Yes, the person who signs the cheque knows how big it was. Yes. Councillor Edwards.
Yes, I'm just hoping that the other members are up to date as well. On page 2 of I think it's page 34, halfway down, this is report of the trustee for the farming school endowment. The fund has increased in value by 16.64,640.
It wasn't that. It was 16,640.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a typo I put in there.
Yeah.
The accounts get approved by the trustees on Monday. Obviously, that's been amended in the accounts and the copies that I print off for approval. It is in the notes. It's not actually in the body of the accounts. So, thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, on that same page, there's a typo there because the first paragraph talks about the 2013 audited financial statements. So I think that it's supposed to be 2014. Yes, Councillor.
While we're dealing with typos, Chairman, if you go back to the Welsh Church Act accounts, the statement of financial activities, this is on page 7 of the accounts. About 3/4 of the way down. About 3/4 of the way down, there's a statement, net outgoing resources before transfers, and the line under that, net outgoing resources before other recognised gains and losses. I think they're actually net incoming resources. They're outgoing in 13, but not 14.
Don't know if anyone's located that yet. It's on pages 7 and 22, depending on which numbering system you're using. It's on the total resources expended, so I thought it was outgoing. found it?
Okay, yes, I shall correct that. That's an oversight on my part. I apologise for that one.
Okay, anything else from members? Yes, Councillor Strong?
Yeah, again, on Monmouthshire Farms the income that Monmouthshire Farms gets on their investments seems to be very, very low. Progress up to 3 or 4 years now. I know Roger Edwards Trust has several million pounds invested in what's on that investment, roughly 30,000 a year. And the farm endowment has got about 2/3 of a million pounds invested. I think the total is about 5,000. It seems that, very, very slight compared to what they should be getting. Could you tell me whether they have... Oh, sorry. Could you tell me whether they have, in fact, started to reinvest to get a better return?
There's a report going to the trustees on Monday from Arlene Close, our investment bankers, with a proposal, if it's accepted, to invest the same as the Welsh Church Fund, and we are therefore anticipating that the investment return will increase. Welsh Church Fund has already got the contract in place already, and it's something that the trustees are reviewing on Monday for Mon Farm.
Any further comments from councillors on these two sets of accounts? Councillor Higginson?
Subject there being no further questions, Chairman, we're prepared to move the acceptance.
Yes? Okay. Thank you. Right, well, the next item on the agenda is going to be to receive the Whole Authority Complaints Report 2013-14. Now, I think we were expecting... There you are. Hello. Come on to the top table if you like. What I will do is I will ask you to introduce the paper, and then I'll just take comments from the members.
Okay, so this is the whole authority. It's not just complaints, but it's comments and compliments as well that we've received for the whole of the authority for the period 2013 to 14. Also, it gives you some information on the number and types of requests that we've received under the Freedom of Information Act. I think that most of you will be aware that there are 2 stages to the complaints procedure. First stage is the informal stage, where we try and sort out things at the local level. If we can't do that, then we go to the formal stage, or sometimes people like to go straight to the formal stage because they don't want it looked at by the local manager, or they feel that it won't be looked at properly. There's a number of reasons. So there's two stages to our whole authority complaints procedure. For 2013-14, we had 144 complaints, 172 comments, and 34 compliments. Of the 134 complaints that were dealt with at stage 1, we had 16 that wanted to go to stage 2, and they were dealt with at the formal investigation stage. The services that we get the most complaints about are generally highways, recycling and waste, planning, council tax, and revenue and benefits. So, we get complaints about street lights, about incorrect road signage, potholes, parking fines. Waste is one that we get lots of complaints about. The non-collection, failure to provide bags, bins. Had a number of complaints last year about the inconsistent nappy waste collection. And then on the planning side, you know, we get complaints about people feel that we haven't consulted appropriately over planning applications, handling of planning applications, objections made, unsatisfactory service, a whole host of things. And then with council tax then, people have complained about the payment system, delayed payments for benefits, unhappy with the service, court summonses, if the bailiffs have been, their attitude, etc. So that just gives you a flavour of the complaints that we deal with. Some people don't want to go through a formal complaints process, but they want their comments logged and action taken. So we treat comments as informal complaints, and therefore we log them, we deal with them, and we reply to the complainants with an explanation of what's happened. The majority of the complaints for this period were about the changes to the waste and recycling services. People weren't happy about that. That gives you an indication of the complaints and comments and compliments, and I've given you some sort of examples of the sort of comments that we've received. And also we do get compliments, and I do get back to staff when we get compliments about individuals and let them know that we've received this compliment. With regard to the timescales, we've got 10 working days for stage 1 complaints to respond and 20 days for stage 2. And then the head of service has a further 10 days where the head of service writes to the complainant to say what they're going to do as a result of the findings of the investigation. With regard to the first stage complaints, we're pretty good at responding within the time scale. Stage 2, sometimes it takes longer because it can be a bit more complicated if we need to interview a number of people or research some information. So sometimes it goes over the 20 days that we have. If people are still not happy after that, they have the option to go to the Ombudsman. Some people go directly to the Ombudsman and try and bypass our service, but the Ombudsman always redirects them back to us and says they have to go through our process first of all. We try and learn from complaints as much as possible, and I've given you some examples of where, you know, we have tried to learn with regard. Communication issues come up time and time again. So with regards to council tax, we had lots of complaints about the automated payment system, so that has been upgraded. Again, potholes is another biggie, and you know, we do try and take measures, you know, to fill in the large potholes. The waste, you know, we do our best to, if there's been non-collection, to make sure that the crew go around and make the collection, give apologies where necessary, provide more bags. So, you know, we try our best there as well. Planning, very often we're planning. People don't like the decisions that have been made, and therefore they will complain because they know they can only complain about the process. And so therefore, you know, we get complaints about the process with regards to planning. But nevertheless, if there is any learning there, you know, we will take it forward. We've had complaints about the public lavatories, so, you know, we've put measures in place to ensure that they are cleaner than what they were. Tree works, car parking, there's a whole host of things that we've tried to, you know, to learn from and put things in place. So that just gives you a flavour of the complaints, comments and compliments that that we've received. Any questions before we go on to FOI? Or
Thank you very much, Councillor Petrini.
Yeah, two questions, if I may. First is relating to 13 complaints proceeded to the Public Service Ombudsman,
yeah.
but not all of these were formally investigated. Do we know how many precisely were formally investigated?
No, because the Ombudsman, they haven't got timescales like we have, and so therefore sometimes they take a while. I can check, I can find out, but I haven't got the figures. All I know is they come to us and they say, has this person been to you? And have they complained yet? And then they might come back and they say, well, can you take this forward as a complaint? Or we might not hear back from them, you know. So, but I can check with Rob Tranter, our monitoring officer, because he might have the figures. But nevertheless, any complaints that come through, we will deal with them. Yeah.
Okay, I noticed you saying here, and forgive me if I misread it, complaints have gone up 16%. That's 2013-14.
Yes.
I know it's not the end of the year yet, but do we have any indication if that's a continuing trend?
Yes, it is a continuing trend. Yeah, I think that we're going to have more complaints again this year than what we did for last year. Yeah.
Dare I ask what's driving it in your assessment, or what areas are really?
Again, you know, it's recycling and waste, the highways. It's generally the same things. Yes, yeah.
Councillor Higginson.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. To go back to the Ombudsman bit, 13 proceeded to the Public Services Ombudsman, but they were not all formally investigated, and they do say, well, you know, they're not going to investigate further. But where they are investigated, and certainly where they are investigated and resolved, if I put it that way, then the council is notified of whatever the decisions are. So I feel as a consequence of that, it should be in here somewhere. Mm-hmm. And the other one is where they don't investigate. I think we notified about those as well, and they should be in there as well. So there can be some ideas to, you know,
yeah.
Are they serious enough for investigation
yes.
or not?
Yes.
And as a consequence, that reported back. Thank you.
Yes, they do reply to us, and they say that we are not going to formally investigate this complaint, but it could take, you know, 6 months or whatever. But yeah, I'll try and make sure next year that I'll get figures for you on that.
Councillor Easton.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. On the same vein, the Public Service Ombudsman partially upheld 2 complaints. What is partial? What were the complaints about without specific people? How can they partially uphold 2 complaints?
Well, it could well be that a complaint might have, you know, a number of elements to it. So they may uphold some of the elements, but not all of them. So some they might find that, you know, that we've not done things correctly, and there may be other points that that they found that we have done correctly. So they will partially uphold the complaint.
Councillor Down.
Yes, thank you. One of my questions was the one that Councillor Eason just asked, but you are right. The Public Service Ombudsman seems to be able to do what it likes, when it likes, how it likes. It seems to be a totally out of control organisation, a bit like the Wales Audit Office, really. Anyway, the other question, you raised the issue of bailiffs. This is probably an issue which is of interest to me and no one other. So perhaps it would be helpful if I just looked at it myself. Who is the best person to talk to about that sort of thing?
Ruth Donovan.
Ruth Donovan.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Could you just tell me what a PH funeral is, please?
Oh, public health.
Public health.
Public
Can
health.
you explain that?
That's where someone dies and they've got no family, and, you know, they may own a property, and Yeah, we get lots of... Have you seen the programme on the television? What's it called now? Hare Hunters, I think it is, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And, yeah, people can make money out of it.
Well, thank you very much. And if there aren't any further comments, I just move that we note and accept the paper.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We've got the forward planner to look at. Usually just a matter of noting what's on the forward planner. Given that we had a meeting or two postponed and so on this year, I don't think we've had as many papers this year as we've tended to deal with in the previous two. Did we have a paper on risk, on the whole risk register? Did we get that one to look at this year? We have done it before, yeah. And I wondered whether there had been fewer papers on performance management this time round compared with previous years. So what's my point? I'm just really want to check whether the committee is actually addressing the issues it should be addressing. Perhaps I could just sort of pass that through the secretary to see how this year's agenda's compared with previous years. Yes, Councillor Bertrini.
In terms of performance, have we looked at, because there's one from the Welsh Audit Office which monitors the performance, and then we look at that, but also we've revised quite heavily our own evaluation of performance, haven't we, recently? I would say in the last month or two.
It just may be that the cycle has passed through, and that we don't have to keep coming back to it. I think I'd just like to ask via the secretary whether those two aspects, whether we feel that we've. I'd like to just check whether we had to look at the risk register this year. I think as far as performance management is concerned, I think if WAO are content, I know it's not your side, but if they're content. But the performance management, that doesn't follow a constant yearly cycle either, does it? The things that get looked at vary from time to time. Like we had the whistleblowing paper this year, and we've not had that one before, so it does change from year to year.
Yes, and if I might add, the corporate assessment means a lot of their work is being compressed into one particular period as well. So there'd be work which they might have done at a certain period, they bring it forward to the corporate assessment, or taken back to the corporate assessment period. So, in fact, they work in this week on some work in regard to the corporate assessment. So it's not just work undertaken in March that will inform the corporate assessment.
Yes, I think between you and Councillor Bertrini, I think you've probably landed on it, that there has been a change in the way these things are being done. And I would remark that I'm sure councillors are much closer to this than I am, since I only have these meetings occasionally to come to. But can I just check with the secretary that the work programme for March and for April is fully filled in? The April one looks very blank at the moment. Okay, thanks very much for that. Date and time of the next meeting will be Thursday the 5th of March at 2 o'clock.
I mean, the 5th of March doesn't look very busy either, but what's the last subject on it? We mentioned earlier on about this procurement issue around the coaches and that, and it's not on there anywhere.
It was only a couple of days ago that I was sent a note saying he'd rather come to us in March.
As a consequence of that, I mean, would April be a better time to look at it, or
would what be a better time to look at
this
it?
Procurement issue with the coaches and that. I appreciate it. It's subject to audit at the moment, but it should come back here. But I'm just wondering, when will that be?
He's volunteered to come. He's volunteered to come to us in March. So, barring any further changes and exceptions, we'd expect it to be on the work programme for March. And in the past, I have experienced, we all have experienced, how the actual agenda for the meeting can be substantially greater than the one that was in the forward plan anyway. So, it's too early yet to say what the workload's going to be like. Yes, Councillor.
Yes, you mentioned some, you haven't quite closed the meeting, but you mentioned some points early on the agenda about some feedback, particularly vacant posts and things like that. That did have a reasonable amount of debate at the last meeting, if I recollect. We need to get that back to the committee as an agenda item as well. This came up 3 or 4 years ago. Never really a resolution to it. I think we need to have another pick at it.
Are you referring specifically to the issue of the procurement or
No,
the
procurement
business
is one thing, but
of
the
following
one,
up action
Mr.
points?
Davis is involved in, which is the vacant posts and that aspect of the authority.
Well, what I'm hoping is now going to come out of this meeting is that we will have an action points list for next time.
All right.
And I will be expecting reports or, you know, further statements about those items. Well, if there's nothing else, then I'll declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much.